building a laundry room. Basically, you are building separate cabinetry modules that you can then duplicate or adjust to your specific needs. What is more challenging is to know all the measurements and deciding on the overall design of the kitchen. The first question you need to clarify is if this kitchen will be ordered with a kitchen design company or if it will be custom-made with a cabinet maker. If you're working with a kitchen design company, there's no point in creating a 3D design, as in most kitchen design companies, they will already create a 3D design for you based on some inspirational images. In some countries, even for free, as part of their service. If you live in the US, for instance, most likely you will build your kitchen with a cabinet maker. So in this case, you need to create a design in 3D, including elevations. This is exactly what we will do in here. We will build a custom-made kitchen, and later, in future modules, we will create elevations based on our 3D design. Make yourself familiar with standard kitchen cabinet width, IKEA method, or in some countries it's called section. It can give you a good starting point to understand standard kitchen cabinet measurements, as those modular boxes can be combined. Decide on the appliances very early in the process, as you need to know if you need to incorporate a very wide cabinet for your sink or your cooktop. I'm also trying to use the same width cabinets within the kitchen if that is possible. So I basically start my design in 2D by defining where I have my electrical sockets, water outlets, and plumbing for my sink. Then I can create my cabinet modules and decide where I would want to have upper cabinets or shelves, if that is within your imagination. If you're not experienced yet and you have a hard time imagining how this 2D layout will look in 3D, you can start by creating your models for the sink, the oven, and the fridge first. Then you place them on the correct location and design the rest around them. In the future, I will also create a kitchen measurements cheat sheet, but again, I only have so much time in the day, so meanwhile, I will include some common measurements in the following videos. Please be informed that I can't possibly provide all measurements there are, as designing kitchens can be very complex. If you're designing a kitchen for the first time, make sure to get help from a carpenter, or let them see your design before showing it to your clients to make sure you can identify possible problems when it comes to your design. Okay, enough talk. Let's start with creating our Eden Springs kitchen in SketchUp. When designing your or your client's new kitchen, it's natural to want to skip straight to selecting your color scheme, finishes, and appliances. I know it's tempting, but first things first. Let's explore some standard kitchen layouts. Which layout will work for your project will depend on various factors. For once, the general size of the kitchen space available, and of course your access points like fresh water supply, plumbing, and electrical sockets. There are some standard kitchen layouts you can get familiar with if you are just starting out in designing kitchens. Firstly, we have the one-wall kitchen design, ideal for small spaces. To provide enough benchtop space, I recommend to have a minimum length of 3000 millimeters or 118 inches. Another popular option is the L-shaped kitchen, great at maximizing space with 2 adjoining walls. For larger areas, consider the incorporation of an island kitchen, a galley kitchen, or even a U-shaped kitchen design. It's crucial to commence by identifying the most suitable layout for your kitchen space for your client's needs. Keep in mind that the placement of electrical sockets, water outlets, and plumbing significantly influences the feasible layout. budget constraints may limit the flexibility to relocate these elements, especially in the case of island kitchens where freshwater supply and plumbing must be situated within the floor. Assess the potential to move these utilities and consider the associated costs. While some clients may express their layout preferences, it's essential to ensure these align with the space's limitations and crucial factors. When I start designing kitchens, I'm trying to give each area a purpose, and I'm also envisioning the overall floor. How would I use this space? And I'm literally trying to imagine how I walk through the galleys and operate certain appliances. Aim for an optimal walking space of 1200 millimeters or 47.24 inches. Insufficient clearance can lead to issues such as simultaneous use of an oven and a cabinet door, or congestion with 2 people in the walkway. Tailoring your design to specific needs is important. For short-term rental spaces, the emphasis might be on aesthetics and an airy feel, prompting considerations of more open shelves instead of conventional upper cabinetry. On the other hand, kitchen designed for larger families prioritize functionality and storage, where you may need to incorporate lots of upper cabinetry in order to get more storage. In our Eden Springs design, I have seamlessly integrated a 2-wall kitchen with an expansive island layout, perfect for entertaining. As highlighted in my previous video, understanding the precise locations of plumbing, freshwater supply, electrical sockets, and the role of appliances is pivotal to crafting an efficient kitchen layout. You need to consider the working triangle. If you haven't heard of it before, I will quickly explain it to you. The kitchen working triangle principle is an effective guide for positioning the key work zones: the fridge, cooktop, and the sink. It works on theory that these key areas should be located in close proximity to form a triangle shape. Each angle of the triangle should ideally be located 1200 to 2800 millimeters apart. Any longer reduces efficiency, while any less can result in a congested workspace. So when designing a new project, make sure to keep the working triangle in mind and choosing your overall layout wisely. Stay tuned for the upcoming video, where we dive into the different types of appliances and what it means for our 3D design in SketchUp. For now, simply continue watching the videos, take notes, and by the end of this module, you can decide whether you would like to recreate our Eden Springs kitchen for practice or embark on designing your unique kitchen masterpiece. Let's dive into the world of kitchen appliances and explore how to seamlessly integrate them into your SketchUp designs. For those new to kitchen designs, it's essential to acquaint yourself with the various types of appliances available. While some may be standard within your country, understanding these norms is crucial. Now let's focus on our first appliance, refrigerators. If a freestanding fridge is preferred, SketchUp's warehouse offers numerous options. Ensure proper sizing by scaling the model to match the dimensions of the actual fridge. Remember to leave at least 50 millimeters or 2 inches of space behind the fridge for ventilation. And if incorporating cabinetry, maintain a minimum of 25 millimeters or 1 inch of space around it. Please recheck with the specific fridge model. Some may even need more ventilation gaps. Integrated fridges within high cabinets are common, often with an integrated freezer. Communicate with carpenters and if necessary, send the fridge on site for precise cabinetry fitting. These fridges typically fit within a 600mm or 23.62 inches wide cabinet, with the front starting around the benchtop height or sometimes lower, about the bottom of the drawer. But again, this strongly depends on the specific design of the fridge and if it includes a freezer. If you're not sure in which height to place the fridge front, you can place it somewhere lower, about the bottom of the drawer line, and then you can place a note inside your kitchen elevations that the height needs to be adjusted by the carpenter regarding to the fridge model. I don't really showcase the inside of this high cabinet with integrated fridge, but I do make notes on my plans. For our Eden Springs project, the client prefers an integrated fridge that sits in a standard 600mm wide cabinet with shark nose edge fronts. Detailed cabinetry design will be covered in a future video. Now let's shift our focus to ovens. When placing the oven beneath the cooktop, it typically fits within a 600mm cabinetry. Consider the overall width and height of the oven in relation to your cabinetry. If the total height allows, you can include blenders, filler pieces, or even a drawer at the bottom for added convenience. I can't possibly specify anything standard here, as this depends on the design of your cabinetry. Try to follow lines within design, meaning if a close-by drawer bottom line is here, try to place the oven at the same line. Well, and alternatively, you can place the oven within a high cabinet. If it's the sole appliance, align the bottom with a benchtop or a little lower. For integrated microwaves above, position the oven at the bottom of the drawer line, so both can be better accessible, as otherwise the microwave will be quite high to reach. Searching for ovens in the SketchUp warehouse yields plenty of options. You can also use the one provided in the Module 9 zip file. While it's only the oven front, it's sufficient for displaying its location and the design, as some 3D files may have the whole depth visible, that I find a little unnecessary. Stay tuned for the next video where we'll dive into cooktops and rangehoods. In this video, we will talk about cooktops and rangehoods. When selecting a cooktop, the first decision lies in the type: electric, gas, or induction. Depending on your country, certain options may be limited. Standard cooktops typically range from 600 to 900mm in width. Your choice should align with the available space and desired number of burners. Electric or induction cooktops are often integrated into the benchtop, sometimes combined with an oven beneath. Ensure the drawer or oven beneath matches in width for a harmonious design. Gas cooktops can be integrated into the benchtop as well, or in most cases they are standalone, paired with an oven. For freestanding setups, as I mentioned lastly, check the manufacturer's recommendations for the required ventilation gap behind and on the sides. Typically, it is around 75mm or 3 inches. Consider that in your cabinetry design. Now, moving on to rangehoods. There is a variety of options: visible, hidden behind a cabinetry, or custom hoods like the one featured in our Eden Springs project. Determining the ideal backsplash space between the cooktop and the bottom of the range hood depends on the type of cooktop and ceiling height. For electric or induction cooktops, aim for 550 to 700 millimeters. Gas cooktops may require more, commonly between 650 to 700 millimeters, due to higher heat output. While there's no strict rule on range hood width, ideally it should be equal or slightly larger than the cooktop width for effective fume extraction. For a standard hood, consider recreating it or searching for similar models within the SketchUp warehouse. Modern kitchens often integrate range hoods within the upper cabinets, available in various sizes. And if you would like to give your client a more unique experience, you can create a custom-made frame, like we did here, with curved edges or any other preferred style. This frame is 350 mm deep and 1000 mm wide, but certainly this strongly depends on the range hood you are planning to use. Also, I can't specify a standard measurement how much space to leave on the sides, as this will depend on the material used to construct it. As different materials have different strengths, I would recommend discussing this with a carpenter. In the case of our Eden Springs kitchen, a custom-made range hood and induction cooktop were created. The range hood's outer frame is 200 mm wider than the bottom cabinet, allowing for a broader integrated range hood. Consider the sides of the frame, as they will take away space and you end up having a too small extraction area. Finally, if opting for a cooktop with an integrated ventilation system, please note that the extractor pipes need to be concealed within the cabinetry, potentially limiting storage space. This design looks sleek but requires careful planning. Consider placing the cooktop near an outside wall to minimize the distance the extractor pipes need to run through. Both the 3D range hood and cooktop provided here eliminate the need for extra cutouts in the Benchtop or range hood in SketchUp. In the SketchUp warehouse, you might encounter models requiring cutouts, so choose accordingly and what's more convenient for you. Join me in the next video as we explore microwaves, sinks, and dishwashers. In this video, we will talk about microwaves, sinks, and dishers. Microwaves can be simply placed within a pantry area benchtop, but often take away a lot of space, so I recommend integrating it within a high cabinet or within a kitchen island. If your client doesn't have the budget for an integrated microwave and you need to incorporate a simple freestanding model, you can at least try to create a cavity space where you could place it inside. Since microwaves can get hot, times they need ventilation on the sides, the top, and behind them. Allow 100 mm or 4 inches of airspace at the back, 50 mm or 2 inches on the sides, and 150 mm or 6 inches on the top. I do strongly advise to check with the manufacturer, as from model to model this can differ. Integrated microwaves are more costly but look fabulous. They can be stacked on top of the oven or installed below the benchtop. Integrated models are designed to fit within a 600 mm or 23.6 inch wide cabinetry, and their height varies, but generally between 350 to 500 millimeters. For our Eden Springs project, I have placed the microwave above the oven. You may be able to place them flush with the oven, or sometimes you need to incorporate some fillet pieces in between, depending on the optical lines of your cabinetry design. so this is not really fixed. But I did place my oven lower, as I mentioned in my previous videos, so the microwave is more accessible. Let's move on to sinks. There are so many design options for sinks. The size really can range from small to big, single or double sinks. Some are top mount with a sloping drain board. Some can be undermount or even designed from the same material as your benchtop. Which sink to choose depend on your or your client's personal preference and budget. The sink cabinetry will need to be slightly wider than the sink to allow for installation. Often you see double-door cabinetry beneath to fit a bin and the pipes. The distance between the front of your benchtop and the front of your sink should ideally be between 60 to 80 millimeters. To achieve this, you will usually have to bring your sink as far forward as possible within the cavity of the joinery below. A sink bowl that is about 200 millimeters deep is ideal. A freestanding dishwasher will fit into a standard cavity that's approximately 700 millimeters wide and 700 millimeters deep and 820 millimeters high, although model specifications can vary, with some X-tall models being 870 millimeters or higher. You need to consider to provide about 50 millimeters or 2 inches of space behind your dishwasher for the water and drainage hose, and for the sides between 25 to 50 millimeters. Make sure to recheck that with the manufacturer as well. Ideally, you position the dishwasher beside the sink for more convenience. If you're planning on using a built-in dishwasher, those usually sit within the joinery, with a kickboard that lines up with the cabinetry of the rest. Built-in dishwashers can also be semi-integrated or fully integrated with front panels that conceal the appliance behind joinery. Ensure any handle used has enough grip to allow you to open the dishwasher comfortably. If you would like to incorporate further appliances such as a minibar, wine cooler, make sure to have their specifications and required ventilation gaps so you can design the cabinetry or the cavity for them. Now that we have talked about appliances, let's move on to standard benchtop heights and width. In this video, we will discuss benchtop heights and depths. Typical heights for benchtops, factoring in their thickness, range from 850 to 950 millimeters. Which size to choose mostly depend on users' height. So if your clients tend to be taller, it's worth designing a higher benchtop. In my experience, a height of 930 millimeters tends to be suitable for most clients. Once you have determined the desired benchtop height, subtract the benchtop thickness to define the height of your bottom cabinetry. The benchtop thickness varies based on the chosen material. Benchtop materials are generally available in slabs ranging from 12 millimeters to 20 to 40 millimeters, which can either be used as is or fabricated to create a thicker appearance. The thickness you opt for is influenced by your kitchen's design, style, and budget. Thinner materials like porcelain, that is 12 millimeters, offer the flexibility to achieve various thicknesses. Metering and gluing together 3 or 4 pieces over 45 degrees can create the illusion of a thicker benchtop. And laminating materials together is another option. It's crucial to note that changing your benchtop height during process is tricky, as it will impact the appearance of your appliances and the design of your overall cabinetry fronts and drawers, and you may need to incorporate fillers to address any gaps. So I recommend deciding on that very early on. When incorporating appliances, check their specifications to ensure they will actually fit within the cabinetry. For example, a 100mm thick benchtop from thinner porcelain material that was glued together may limit integrated dishwasher options due to the space deduction. Adjusting the benchtop height slightly is an option, but be cautious about exceeding 950mm, as this might feel uncomfortably high, especially for shorter individuals. Now let's dive into benchtop depths. For those including a cooktop or sink, the standard benchtop depth is 600mm. But factor in the thickness of the backsplash tiles or a benchtop profile like in our Eden Springs project here, and consider making your benchtop 630 to 650mm to allow space for tiles or profiles, as those will limit your space. In the next video, we will talk about kitchen islands. In this video, let's dive into some specifications when it comes to designing kitchen islands. I have used the same benchtop height as the rest of the kitchen, as the same rule applies here. You can incorporate a sink, a dishwasher, or instead using the kitchen island for cooking and install a cooktop here. If you are about to design a kitchen with an island, make sure the water pipes, plumbing, and electrical sockets are available depending on what you choose to install in here. Talking about general kitchen island dimensions. If you're planning on incorporating 3 island chairs, a total length between 2000 to 2200mm is ideal. If you need to accommodate 4 bar stools, 2400 to 2600mm is a great size. For larger homes and kitchens, a longer 3 to 4mm or even more island bench creates a fabulous feature. Just be aware that you will generally need to join 2 pieces of stone if your benchtop is longer than a single slab length. Joints work best when they are centered on the sink, mixer, or cooktop, as this minimizes their visibility. Engineered stone slabs are generally 3050 by 1440mm wide, with some jumbo slabs measuring 3200 by 1600mm, so keep that in mind when designing your kitchen island. The ideal depth of an island will depend on whether you're planning to incorporate a breakfast bar with seating, and if you're going to install a sink or a cooktop in here. For a kitchen island with seating, the recommended minimum depth is generally 900mm, accounting for a 300mm benchtop overhang. However, if your island design includes a sink and space permits, please opt for a depth between 1050 to 1200mm. This expanded depth allows to place the cabinet module, some air space for the pipes of about 130 to 150mm, some 3D panels or tiles, and the overhang for our bar stools to be able to sit with comfort. If you have the opportunity to design an even wider island of about 1200mm, you can maximize the additional space in the base cupboards by integrating concealed 300mm deep cupboards that are accessible from behind the breakfast bar, adopting a push and open front mechanism as illustrated in this example. If you're fortunate and your client has the budget for a custom-made kitchen constructed by a skilled carpenter, the possibilities for creative designs are extensive. Some designers have explored innovative elements such as incorporating corner storage along the side of the island or incorporating a substantial round pillar beneath. I strongly recommend consulting with a carpenter about your design before presenting it to your client, especially if you are uncertain about its ability to bear weight and address engineering considerations. Finally, let's quickly talk about the kitchen overhang. I mentioned earlier an overhang of 300 mm is a good standard. In most cases, benchtop materials can effectively suspend this overhang size without the need for additional reinforcement, creating a visually appealing floating effect that allows for comfortable seating space. However, if you intend to have a larger overhang, it's advisable to consider a substrate for bracing and reinforcement to ensure stability. The last thing I would like to mention is the height of bar stools. Don't make the mistake in ordering stools and realizing they are too high. Please note that you need some leg room. I recommend to have between 250 to 300 mm of leg room between the top of the seat and the underside of the counter. So in our Eden Springs project, we have a space of 900 mm under the benchtop, deducting the necessary leg room of, let's say, 250 mm. I need to consider bar stool of a height of maximum 650 mm and sitting height. Okay guys, that's it for now. In the next video, we will discuss kitchen joinery in more detail. Welcome to this lesson where we will dive into the world of kitchen joinery. When crafting your joinery, maximize the vertical space in your kitchen for added storage by incorporating full-height joinery. If budget constraints apply, consider a standard kitchen height ranging between 2,285 to 2,440 mm and complement it with a bulkhead above, creating the illusion of a floor-to-ceiling design. Bulkheads typically measure between 3 to 600 mm in height. Only introduce bulkheads if your ceilings are 2,700 mm or higher, as bulkheads may visually reduce the ceiling height. When opting floor-to-ceiling cabinets, explore the option of incorporating a 16 to 22 mm shadow line or frame atop your cabinetry. This involves leaving a slight gap between the cabinetry and the ceiling, with filler pieces or a frame enhancing depth, creating an optical lightness and dimension effect in the kitchen. Specify the material thickness, generally between 16 to 22 mm, as I mentioned earlier, with your carpenter when defining the outside frame. This is crucial to avoid design conflicts later on or ending up adjusting your 3D design. In our Eden Springs project, a consistent use of 20 mm material thickness was maintained, but it's essential to accommodate the preferences and standards of different materials and carpenters. Now let's discuss kickboard heights. A kickboard, commonly known as a kick, conceals the recess at the base of floor-mounted joinery, hiding the air gap and cabinet legs. When determining kick heights, factor in integrated or freestanding appliances as they may influence the ideal kick height. Kickboards are available in various heights, ranging from ultra-slim options to those as high as 150 or even 200 millimeters. Standard kicks typically measure about 100 millimeters in height. The standard kickboard depth, measured from the front of the cabinet carcass, excluding the door, is about 50 millimeters. In our Eden Springs project, no depth was left, creating a recess of 20 millimeters with only the front door. But that's just a design choice. You could have constructed this cabinet module by creating a carcass like this and creating a recess for the kickboard of 50 millimeters. Having covered appliance placement and considering all information about standard measurements and heights, it's time to define the design of our cabinet fronts or drawers. I'm sure your client has provided you with inspirational images of how he or she would like the kitchen to look. By now, you need to understand whether your client prefers drawers, simple cabinet fronts, or even a combination of both. You need to define also whether your client would like to have handles or a front that can be opened using a push-open mechanism, or some designs that offer the ability to pull the front or the drawers with your fingers. When planning drawers, consider the quantity, whether 2 or 3 are preferred, and taking into account a design using handles, push-open or pull-out styles. Design details like the shark nose edge pull-out fronts require thoughtful planning, including a visible filler piece of about 25 millimeters or 1 inch, visible from the front, and about 50 millimeters or 2 inches inside, to make space for your fingers to actually pull the drawer out. If you're using handles or a push-open mechanism, you don't have to include these filler pieces, as they usually are stacked on top of each other. In reality, those fronts also have a tiny gap between them, but I do not showcase that within SketchUp, as this would just take too much time, and in general, the cabinet maker will adjust those little details for you when actually building the kitchen cabinets. What's more important here is to give the cabinet maker an overall design, meaning creating some standard cabinet width so he knows what to work with. When designing kitchens, I'm also trying to keep optical lines if that is possible. For our overhead cabinetry, I would also like to share a couple of information with you. Kitchen overhead cupboard doors are most practical when they are not too wide. They don't really have to align with your bottom cabinetry when it comes to their width. A width between 300 to 425 millimeters per door works well. I personally do not recommend to go wider than that, as they can really get uncomfortable to open. Talking about the depth, a depth between 3 to 400 millimeter is ideal to avoid knocking your head and provide enough depth for practical storage. 350 millimeters, including the kitchen front, is my go-to depth when designing overheads. A nice tip I can give if you would like to use very basic kitchen fronts and do not want any handles or a push-up mechanism, consider a 5 mm front door overhang, creating a finger pull right there. It's a very affordable alternative and it's functional. Lastly, I'm not sure if I have actually mentioned that before, but ventilation is also an important factor that need to be considered in your joinery design. Appliances can produce a lot of heat, and the air needs to be released somehow. I recommend to talk to your carpenter where he can incorporate vents for you. You can include those within the kickboard, the side of the cabinetry, or even on top within the bulkhead. Just choose a spot that aligns with your design and doesn't bother. Okay guys, I understand that the previous videos were quite technical, but grasping kitchen measurements is crucial for accurate design in SketchUp. To enhance your understanding, I recommend exploring inspirational images and closely examine cabinet structures. This hands-on approach will help you gain valuable insights into design principles and hone your ability to estimate measurements. In the upcoming videos, I will showcase a time-lapse of the kitchen construction process. If you have specific questions about building particular elements, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I'm more than willing to assist with your designs. While you have the option to replicate the Eden Springs kitchen using the provided measurements or examining the 3D file I provided, I encourage you to unleash your creativity and design your own unique kitchen for the ultimate personal experience. I'm excited to see what you come up with. Looking forward to connecting with you in the next module. Welcome to the last two videos of this module, where you will see how I have built the complete kitchen for our Eden Springs home in SketchUp. I speeded up the process, so again, if you wish to see this video in slow motion, simply adjust the speeds and the settings and turn off the audio. So as you can see here, I have turned on my spatial planning tab in order to see my initial 2D design, which is really helpful now as I can just draw my cabinetry over it and use it as my guide. I always construct cabinets with a base first, then I create the sides, the back, and define my drawers or kitchen fronts. For this example, I chose shark nose edges, how they like to call them, and I always make sure to group my single pieces in order to be able to adjust them later on. You can then just copy the same model and adjust its size. I would not suggest to use the scale tool on the whole cabinet box, rather than just push-pull single surfaces out, as otherwise you will also change the scale of the material thickness. And if you start creating elevation drawings later on, based on this 3D design, your measurements have to be exact. If you want to recheck any measurements, you can always refer to my PDF plans or open the kitchen cabinetry file, which was included in this module package. I pay close attention to the cabinet placement and ensure there's ample storage for kitchen essentials. This includes optimizing cabinet heights and depths to make the most of the available space. Now let's talk about aesthetics. The overall design needs to reflect the client's style while maintaining a balance between form and function. In this kitchen, I played with a modern yet timeless design, incorporating sleek lines and neutral color palette for a clean and inviting look. You're venturing into the realm of kitchen design. It's crucial to grasp the concept of integrating filler pieces, much like the example I'm showing here with my bottom cabinet and high cabinet. Filler pieces play a dual role. Sometimes they are a deliberate design choice, adding a touch of finesse, while other times they serve the practical purpose of filling gaps. Imagine you have aligned multiple cabinetry boxes and suddenly end up with a 3 or 4 centimeter gap. That's where filler pieces come into play, seamlessly merging functionality with aesthetics. They might be the unsung heroes you spot above an oven or a dishwasher. The key is to approach their incorporation meticulously. Take the time to visually explore inspirational kitchen images. Observe how seasoned designers have artfully integrated filler pieces. By doing so, you not only enhance your design knowledge, but also ensure that these pieces become strategic elements, seamlessly moving into your overall kitchen aesthetics. When it comes to appliances, I consider their placement and integration. The goal is to seamlessly incorporate appliances in the overall design while ensuring they are easily accessible and add the kitchen visual appeal. Throughout the process, I constantly refer back to the client's preferences. Communication is key to understanding their needs, whether it's a preference for a specific countertop material, cabinet style, or choice of hardware. And of course, SketchUp is my go-to tool for bringing these ideas to life. Its versatility allows me to create detailed 3D models, enabling both myself and the client to visualize the final result. As you watch this time-lapse video, pay attention to the details, the placement of each element, and the layout behind the design choices, and how it all comes together in a harmonious and functional kitchen space. You will notice that building the east kitchen wall is much faster, as we basically can copy most of the cabinet boxes I have already created. A quick tip from my side: start collecting your kitchen cabinet modules and a separate SketchUp file so you can reuse them for other kitchen designs. Obviously, you can create modules that have 3 drawers, 2 drawers, or simple different styles. When searching the SketchUp warehouse, I'm sure you will also find plenty of ready-made modules that you can use. Just make sure they align with your standard kitchen cabinetry sizes you typically use in your country. In Germany, we usually have 60 centimeter kitchen models. Those are very common, but I know that in Australia, for instance, they like to use much wider kitchen models. So always recheck the size when downloading something from the SketchUp warehouse, and also check the material thickness so you don't run into issues later once you start creating detailed drawings from those cabinets. Okay guys, I will just wrap this video up. Continue watching or skip to the next one. The choice is yours.